Hi, welcome. Welcome, my beautiful co-host, Corinne Mooney. And hi, everybody. Today we have Wednesday, February 12th, 2 days away from Valentine's Day, right? Great. That's one of the rare holidays I actually like to celebrate because it's a positive one, right? And you are watching Cosmic Sis-Star Show with Corinne Mooney and myself, Anne. And we have actually in January and the beginning of February streamed a four-part series discussing and digging deep into the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, a spiritual guide based on ancient Toltec wisdom. How how you can live your life easier if you pay attention to certain things, right? So there are four agreements. So we have done four parts. Today, we are going to do a summary, the highlights of all four agreements. And I just love this. The first agreement was streamed on January 8th this year. Be impeccable with your word. The second agreement, January 15th, don't take anything personally. The third agreement was on January 29th. We had another show in between there, right? So we're going to come back to that as well. And that was don't make assumptions. The fourth agreement on February 5th last week was always do your best and what that means, right? So today we are in for a summary and a conclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thrilled about that. And I also want to mention that you are going to have, where do I have it? So you are going to have workshops,
Mm-hmm.
two workshops. The four agreements in on February 23rd, that is in 11 days from now, and a couple's play date. Take your relationship from fine to fantastic on March 2nd.
Yes.
Everything is going to happen in Mesa, Arizona. So if you are there, don't miss this chance. Small classes, meaning that you can be seen and heard and you can really work through things.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wonderful possibility, actually. And if you want to connect with Kareem, I'm going to put up your contact information here. So you can find Kareem at liquidenergyhealing.com, or you can call her 480-250-1815, or email Corinne at lqenergyyahoo@yahoo.com. And you can also read about Corinne if you go to angelplaceonearth.com/Corinne Mooney with two O, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, how are you today?
I am fabulous. As I always say, it's amazing that when we pick a topic, the universe gives me an opportunity the whole week before we talk about it to utilize it and experience it and basically walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk. And I think that's so gracious of them. And sometimes it's a little inconvenient, but we're all in the process of becoming aware of who we really are and finding our authenticity.
Exactly. And one could choose because I'm always like the positive, like you. So I
Yeah.
always see the positive. So even if the positive may one at a certain time frame be just a stain, I'm going to see that stain because it is actually good. Um, we have to pay attention to how we talk, both how we talk to others and how we talk to ourselves, right?
Hmm.
So be impeccable with your word. What am I actually saying? Not taking things personally, meaning that if I take things personally, that's going to be my perception, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, I am right and you're wrong. No, Doesn't work that way, right? Assumptions. Yeah, that's the same thing. I'm expecting something, I assume.
That's
So we
right.
assume on that show that we would have internet, didn't we? That was so.
Yes. That was great.
And always do your best. And sometimes we are very, very generous with others and hard on ourselves. So what does it mean to always do your best? Just a summary here, right?
That's yes. Well, one of the questions that I wanted to pose is, are you really free to dream your own dreams? Or do you and are you living somebody else's dream? And when we've been pre-programmed, how many times have we heard someone say, well, I really didn't want to be a football player, but my family wanted me to be, and I had the right build for it. And so it became my dream. But I really
Yeah.
wanted to go and sail boats or do something else. So, how authentically are we really living our lives? And how can we get in touch with that? Um, undoing well-meaning ideas that people have imparted upon us, but we're living by their rules and their obligations. And there comes a time when you have to say, this doesn't really fit for me. And what tools do I have to kind of work through this?
Yeah, that's interesting because there are a lot of assumptions and expectations and what you can and cannot do and how you shouldn't actually think too much that you can accomplish too many things. That's going to keep you down, right?
Mhm.
That's a common thing. You're not good enough for that thing. You are maybe good enough for that. So assumptions, ideas, opinions about what you can and cannot do.
Correct.
And also sometimes people can be very straightforward and say you don't fit for that. You know what I say? How do you know that?
That's true. Yes. I remember when uh, I had decided that I was going to cover my patio and put a roof over it. So I drew out all the plans, just like I was making a dress or something. I knew what I needed to buy, how many 2x4s, how many this and everything else. And I went down to the lumber store with my list. And this man said to me, what are you building? And I said, I'm going to cover my roof. And he says, who's doing it for you? I said, I'm doing it. He said, you can't do that. And I said, I don't know that I can't do that. So I am going to do that.
Good.
And that was an assumption. He made an assumption that at 5'2", this little lady was not going to be able to do this. And but that's not how I visioned myself. And this is what we're dealing with. And our parents and our teachers aren't trying to be mean to us. They are just imparting the information that they had imparted to them. And
Yeah.
nobody took the time to say, is this correct or should we change it? And therefore, it's up to us to realize this doesn't fit for us
Yeah.
and make a change.
And also around age sometimes, because I remember my mom, I was living in Greece at that time, and we were scuba diving quite a lot when we could. We had our own equipment and stuff. But at those days, you weren't allowed to go by yourself, so we had to be with a group, but we could swim around with them. But because my mom actually didn't She had never tried. She wanted to try, so we put her with a group to have help, and they taught her. But they wanted her to visit a doctor first, and they had a doctor at the location, right, to check everyone who wanted to go down. And he looked at me. She didn't know Greek, and he said to me, "And what does she want to go down there in the water at her age?" And she wasn't that old. And I said, "I don't dare saying that to her because she's going to chase you around here."
That's right. And when fortunately we have had this wonderful um, teacher. He's actually a spiritual um, training that he has had, but he actually was a doctor, Dr. Don Luis, and he was a physician for a very long time because he says, "Well, I'm not going to mess with that old stuff my grandmother was telling me." Until he realized that what he was doing as a doctor was not really helping people because, as we know as healers, illness comes from the energy around us. It doesn't really, yes, bacteria and stuff like that has a little bit, but it's mostly the emotions that cause us to have cancer and Parkinson's and all of these types of things. And the Toltecs realized that we, as dreamers, were dreaming the dream of the people that came before us.
Yeah, we do.
And they gave us these four simple, extremely hard suggestions to live by. And we have spoken very much about how words impact people. And one of the first agreements, of course, is be impeccable with your speech. Where does this start? It starts with you. It starts with realizing that when you're being funny about yourself, "Oh, well, I'm getting fat. Oh, well, I need to change this." You're actually creating a negative energy around yourself. So, learning to start speaking to yourself with beauty and inspiration. And when you start realizing how you feel, you're encouraged to start inspiring others.
Exactly. And by the way, we are all unique. There is no one else exactly shaped or looking or having the qualities and the energies that each and every one of us
or
has.
or
So
thinking our dream.
yeah, yeah. But here's one other kicker. We need to expand ourselves and be willing to expand, because otherwise we're going to live what we think we know from our experience and what we have been taught, right?
Correct.
So we can't really recognize something if we don't try it out or test something new, expand,
Right.
right?
And we did that before we were of the age of reason, so to speak. And we did that because that is the nature of the human being, is to explore and to try things and to not have limits.
Exactly.
When we are born, we're nothing but pure possibility. And it's not until someone tells us you can't climb up there. I mean, have you seen how babies can climb on things that any other human being would go, "Oh, there's no way they're gonna," and they just clamber right up because they don't know they can't do that. And and then you have an adult tell you you can't do that, and we depend on these adults, so we assume in our limited understanding that they are absolutely correct. And this is where finding these tools and helping yourself I'm going to say it this way: unscrew yourself. I mean, that's the easiest way I can say it, because we all come from very complicated cultures, uh, politics, ideologies. We're a combination of what everybody else has thought for all of this time. And to stand alone takes courage.
It takes courage. For instance, like that man said to you that he said it because you're a woman. You're not
Mhm.
supposed to be able to do that, right?
Exactly.
And
Eh,
you said, give me a hammer and a drill, right?
Well, I always went looking for power tools on Father's Day because they were cheaper. And I went down to buy a drill. And he says, "Oh, you're buying something for the hubby." I said, "No, I'm buying it for myself." Takes me over and shows me this little tiny pink thing. And I said, "Is that for manicures?" You know, and I said, "I need a Dremel. I need a drill." And he says, "Well, but that's for a man." I said, "No, I want a drill that's going to do the work. I don't want to be there going, 'Oh, isn't this cute? It's going to take me forever to do it.'" I went, boom, get the job done. And and putting limits on me that I wouldn't even put on myself.
Usually people don't do that out of being mean, but they
No,
don't really
no.
think about
It
what they are saying. They
it
are
was
saying something. They come from a very narrow perception, right?
That's right. And I was taught manners way back in the 50s. And my mother always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And although that stops communication to a certain degree, it does make you think. And if you can't say something inspiring or uplifting or encouraging, just keep your mouth shut. No?
I was actually fortunate because my great grandmother, she allowed me to grow self-confidence, and I had
Yeah.
um her her guy, but I called her grandpa, him grandpa, right? But he wasn't my grandpa, but I saw him as my grandpa. He was living with my great grandmother. And my grandmother, she was, I usually say, a redhead. That's kind of a stereotype as well. A lot of freckles and a lot of temper, but I loved her. She could speak. Um, so, it's about how you are raised as well. And we can help kids from the very beginning.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that we are not going to talk when things are dangerous, right? But that's different. But we can do it in a way so they can be taught that this
Yes.
may be you can try, but it's going to be dangerous, so you have to be careful, right?
Yes. When my daughter was getting, she was about 7, and she was getting where, she could kind of come and go as a little bit more. And I did not teach fear. I taught being aware. And I said, if you're walking along and something doesn't look right, turn around and run the other way. But if you're in, like, walking down the street, run close to the houses. Don't stay on the sidewalk. And do you know that she comes back? She was going to her friend's house about 6 houses down, and came back in and said, "Mom, there was a car that was sitting across the street, and as I started walking, it started slowly following me." And she did what I told her to do and came back here immediately. And that saved her life. But she wasn't fearful. I didn't teach her to be scared. I taught her to be aware and to just observe what was going on, and handle it. And we kind of got off subject there. I apologize about that. You know,
That's okay.
but it is true. It's how you do it, and
Yeah, it is how you do it. And everything can be said, but it's about how it's being said, right?
impeccable, impeccable.
Yeah, impeccable.
And you know, and I love this one. Don't take things personally. And we always, as I said, I love the way the universe gives me an opportunity to try these things out. Um, when you take things personally, you're going to have a different reaction. And it's like you make, then we go into making assumptions. But when you take it personally, you feel responsible for everything around you. And if I'm responsible for every action you make, and if you are feeling fear and guilt and doubts, then that's what I'm going to carry. And I'm not going to be able to let things go if I think everything is about me.
Exactly, because that is the number one thing I think people do. Um, Taking things personally also goes hand in hand with assumptions many times, right?
Always just
So
like that.
if someone doesn't call us and we assume that they don't want to call us, it has something to do with me. I'm a bad person or I'm wrong or whatever it is, right?
Right.
But most of the time, there's something else going on.
That's right. And that just throws us right into the assumptions. Um, and we make our assumptions when we are living from what we were taught and how we were taught to analyze things. We make assumptions from bits of information that we gather, something we
Yeah.
saw, something we heard, something we remembered. And those are not really fact. And we talked a lot about that is if you assume that everything is going to go that way and it doesn't, then you take it personally because it has to be about you. And then all the words that you use on yourself are not impeccable. Oh, I must have done this. Why didn't this happen to me? You know, it's amazing. It's like it all fits together and then it comes back and hits you in the you know what.
Yeah, exactly. And something that I do hear a lot, and I heard it not so long ago, someone asking me, did I create bad karma now?
Oh, oh, that, you know.
Yeah,
Uh I'm not saying that okay, let me rephrase this. Our actions do create reactions.
yeah,
And we are part of that. However, to just think that we are responsible for everything that happened because something happened many thousands of years ago and everything else, it gets to be a time when that no longer fits the dynamics. And realizing that cause and effect are just right here.
yeah,
Because when you
exactly.
start living in the past, you're living in the past perceptions of things. You're living in the past ways that people see things and do things. That does not allow you to become an aware person.
No, but and it also personalize things that are not in your hands, being your fault, right? So
Correct.
I love to express karma as you said, cause and effect, but it's also you can say choices and consequences. It's really very simple. Plus, plus we if we have a bad intention, I'm going to do damage to someone now.
That's
Yeah,
different.
I'm going to reap that because
Yeah.
my intention is bad, right?
Yeah.
But we are human beings and we make mistakes, and we're not being punished for making mistakes.
That's now that brings up all that we're talking about because when you have the kind of hierarchy that we have set with not being impeccable with the words, taking things personally, and assumptions, you're setting up a judge. And when there's a judge, there is good and there's bad. And with good and
Exactly.
bad, there is going to be punishment or reward. So
Exactly.
we now really set ourselves up for, oh my gosh, I did this. I am so terrible. I'm never going to pass that test because I didn't finish my homework. And we in our minds can create the greatest punishment of all. And I have
Yeah.
to go back to a situation. Um, I apologize. I regress. But raising my last child, she was born 20 years after my first, so I'd had a lot of experience. And this one time, there was something that was not acceptable that she had done, and we discussed it. And she said, "Well," she said, "I I need to be punished." And I said, "Okay, what do you think is going to help you remember not to do that again?" And she says, "Well, I think I need to go and think about it for a little while." She imposed her own punishment, but it was gentle because I was leading her that she was not a bad person, that it was just something to be corrected. However, we punish ourselves all the time and constantly. We never let it go. We keep going back to, well, I didn't do that when I was this age or this age, so I must be a bad person.
Exactly.
Free
Plus,
yourself.
yeah, exactly. Plus, we don't, no, we put up frames and boundaries that we don't need to be there because we are unlimited, aren't we?
Yes, we
And
are.
you said this not long ago, and I
Yes,
love it because we really are. But if I put up the framework for what I can and cannot do and how bad I am or whatever it is, or even towards the other side, because that is creating an attitude, maybe you are the best
right.
of everyone and everybody should look up to you. And that's not doable either, right? But if we are putting up the framework, how are we going, if we put up our, like the fence for ourselves, how are we going to progress then?
That's
So we
right.
need to take down that first, acknowledge ourselves.
Yes. And the beauty of this is with utilizing being aware of the four agreements and being conscious of them and working to implement them into your life at least gives us an opportunity to start being aware of our real authentic self. And this is a beauty because when we become authentic with ourselves, we look for others that are authentic. And
Yeah.
then when we have a conversation with them, we're not going to assume anything about the conversation. We're going to clarify, which is going to give us a way to grow even more and more in our awareness. And by making assumptions and taking things personally, we limit conversation. We limit
Yeah,
growth.
exactly, we do. Very well said. And yeah, it's a big topic. Each and every one of these actually shows and agreements are because it's when you read it, it looks so easy, right? But when you are to pay attention to it, you can catch yourself. Even we catch ourselves sometimes, right? But I
Right.
think that the thing with catching yourself or becoming aware and being aware of what you are doing, not punishing ourselves because we don't do that. We use it as funny stories sometimes, or even remembering it, laughing at it,
Yes.
taking it lightly in that way because we don't also need to take everything that serious. We're
Yes.
not here to be that serious, are we?
Not at all. And when you take it personally, then you start delving into all of the the shouldas, the couldas, and the whatever, rather than saying, well, this happened and this is a funny experience and I learned something from it. And not let it become something that we put in the back of our mind to constantly beat us over the head. And this now brings us to always doing your best. And
That's a good one.
every day our best is different. And if we understand that, that doesn't mean don't move yourself forward, but it's just, okay, today my best is running this fast, and then today my best is just getting out of bed. So be gentle with yourself. It takes a lot of, when you are hard on yourself for not being better than, this consumes energy. And when that consumes the energy, then that becomes a negative thing, because then we have to be punished. And you see how there's just,
Exactly. And it also lines up a little bit with punishing ourselves for choices we have made in the past without
exactly.
thinking and remembering that when we made the choices, yeah, maybe today they may seem, how could I ever make that choice, right? But remember that when I made that choice in the past, maybe that was my best option then.
That's right. That's right. And if you have a situation where you that is all the information you have, and you're making your judgments on that information, well, you can't dream up other information because that's all that's available to you. uh, the same as if you're building a house, you build it with what you have available to you, and maybe it is not as sturdy as if you had other materials, but that's the best you could do at that time. So to criticize yourself and to be unimpeccable, is that a word? Not be impeccable with your speech and say, oh, this is terrible, I did a bad job and everything, which is going to then create negativity in your body. And we're going to talk about this next week, how that
Yes.
negativity, and it's not karma, it is
No,
cause and effect. It is, if I have these bad thoughts about myself, eventually my body is going to believe that and respond. And,
exactly.
you know,
And if you're thinking that, you could say that even words can be thought, right? Because you sometimes we are thinking in a manner like we talk to ourselves, but it's without saying it, right? So it's the same
yes,
thing. And something else that is quite common, and I also have a lot of people talking about that. They are so hard on themselves, and then in the next breath, they talk about having patience for others, overlooking things. They did the best they can. Why not say that to yourself?
exactly. Exactly. And this is where being responsible for yourself and to yourself is not being selfish. It is wanting to be the best that you can be, and to find out what it is that gives you the thoughts, finding your authenticity, finding what your passions are. And that doesn't mean that that one passion will be there forever and ever. I happen to be an indigo, and my passions are what I'm doing at that moment. I am passionate about writing, and then I can be passionate about working in my garden. I can be passionate about singing. I can be passionate about, dancing. I have a lot of ways that I can express my passion. And when you find something that truly makes your soul sing, whether it is finding a way to get the garbage out of the ocean, do it. Find something that inspires you and don't let others tell you it can't be done. You can't do it. You didn't have enough education.
Exactly. Like people are saying, who are you trying to take on a task like that? And why not?
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. Why not? Why not? And I read somewhere where they say that the greatest critics are the ones that would never be able to accomplish what they're doing. So what right do they have to tell someone else they can't do it? You know,
Exactly. And usually that shows more about the person saying it because maybe they don't have the great self-esteem either, right?
that's right.
So, and that is not also, it's about perceiving and seeing, observing. It's not about judgment, but it says a whole lot. And many times, if we have a lot of people like this trying to sit on us and putting us down, right? Um, it's usually not a good idea to go against because that's going to create drama. I'm out of topic too, right? But anyway,
Yes.
so take a step back, observe, and then you see without in a peaceful manner, right?
Hmm.
Doing your thing and building yourself, your self-belief.
Yes. And when you step into your authenticity, you have a different perception of yourself. And you also have a greater understanding and a greater love of other people in allowing them to be able to express themselves because you are no longer making judgments about them. You are no longer making assumptions about what they can and can't do. And
Exactly.
it just works so beautifully, and something so simple to find that internal freedom and to be able to inspire others to reach for that. Um, this is something that's very, very unique, and we need more of it in this world.
We need more of it. And, why not develop a way of saying or thinking that if someone can do this, I should be able to, if I would really want to. There's always a way. Maybe my way would be a little bit different from what someone else is going to accomplish the same thing. But if I find my way of doing it, my
And
own unique way, yeah,
right, and maybe your best is not going to be their best, but
exactly,
but maybe what you're doing is going to allow them to be even a better best.
exactly. And I think that we don't all always only compare ourselves from day to day and push ourselves over the top, right? But
Right.
we also compare ourselves to others. So
And
who is going to be the judge of me always trying to doing my best? Is that going to be my neighbor? Is that going to be someone I work with? Is that going to be a family member? Or am I just simply doing my best?
exactly. And when you become authentic, you're not going to be lackadaisical. You're not going to say, this is my best. So, tough. This is all I can do. You're never going to not thrive and strive to be the best authentic person you can be. So it's not an open invitation to be less than. It is just to be give yourself a break and have a sense of humor. We didn't come here to be serious. Honest to goodness, people, There is nothing in the great books, all of the religions never say go out, and they say that some people do suffer, but they didn't say, they say go out and be joyful, go out and sing and dance and spread the word and be happy. They never said go out and have a frown on your face and hit yourself over the head. Well, I take that back. There are some that tell you to, you know, I'm sorry, my mind went somewhere else. but but anytime that we are accomplishing something, and I'm going to use you as an example, and you can fill this in. When you decided that you wanted to have a new experience and decided to see what it was like to have the adventure that you had, there
Yeah,
were days when, I'm sure,
breaking my leg.
yes, when your best was just being able to turn over or just get out of bed for a minute.
Yeah.
But you stayed with it and you gave your best. And each day your best became better. And
You know what I did? I actually, from day one, I said to myself, my new motto is going to be, I do what I can with what I currently have. And then
exactly.
I'm looking forward.
And that is doing your best,
Yes.
because we can only make our decisions from information that we have exactly in front of us. And and we can only go from that point. And by the way, to everyone listening, she graduated and she got triple A's. She is a liberated woman now on two legs.
Isn't that wonderful, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, I had some thoughts coming to me. When you think, okay, gosh, I don't have time for this. First of all, right? I
right.
have this to do and I have that to do and I need to do this. But then you kind of calm down a little bit because when you find yourself, um, my response was in my hands. But the situation, surgeries and stuff of that nature, that wasn't up to me only, right? So we need to see the difference. But we always, in any situation, we have our own personal response to things.
That's right. And
Plus, this opportunity gave me some blessings. I could actually, it's like, when you are being stopped and okay, here I am. Now what? Yeah, well, okay, but there are still many things I can do and I can go within.
yeah, it's like the speeding bullet that we're on going through life slows us down, and then we can go, oh wow, there's still something over there, and there's something over there, and and sometimes uh, life will give us an opportunity to slow down and smell the flowers, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was summertime, so yeah, I could enjoy the nice weather.
Yep.
But it's always about it sounds over the top easy, and people, what they could say against that is that, yeah, well, one can get sad and angry and irritated and depressed and everything of that nature. Yes, we can. But everything and my response to something is still going to be a choice. So even if I feel those moments, I get it out of my system, I center myself, and then I say, okay, this is how things are, being in the present moment as well, right? Because that was a present moment for me too, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. And when we don't take things personally, it allows us to move past what we're going through and look at them and say, okay, well, that was the now, and that was my best for now. And but I'm not going to say, oh, well, this happened. And so now I can't do this. Like the day that I threw my notes away. And
I
I,
love that story.
I, I, um, I usually have them printed out, but my printer is not working. And I assumed that I had them because they're always in my computer. And before the show, an hour before the show, I realized I don't have any notes. And I had thrown them out the day before. And I thought, that's no problem. I'll go get them out of the garbage. Well, I had emptied the garbage. And now if I started if I started taking this personally, this is going to be a horrible day. What am I going to do without the note? And I thought, you know what? I'll wing it. I just, uh, we do that and go off script so much anyway. I had great faith that you would,
Yeah.
take us to where we needed to go, and so I didn't take it personally. However, the day we did assume that everything was going to be fine, the universe stepped in and said, "Nope, you're going to take 30 minutes off," and you know my internet went out. So, but if we took that personally and internalized that and kept saying, "Oh, that was the most horrible day," that's going to change our whole attitude. And
Yeah.
why? Why? It
I
was
have a funny story actually to share with everyone. Many years ago, and I was working at a tall building. We don't have so many tall buildings here, but I guess that the 13th floor in your country is probably not anything, right? But
yeah,
it's not high here. And we had two fire exercises the same day. And you know what happens when there's a fire exercise? You're not allowed to take the elevators and stuff, right?
right.
So and they didn't want us to take the stairs inside either. So we were supposed to go 13 floors with this spiral metal staircase, right? Twice. And the first time, I think we started off, we had some trouble with the internet and stuff, so we couldn't do our work. And you get a little bit stressed, you do. But we took it. And then we had the first exercise, and we ended up downstairs on the street, and everything was fine. Everything was in order, and we came back in. And after a couple of hours, and I joked about it, I said, "We had so much trouble today," a joke, right? So, how about another exercise for the fire, right?
Oh, big mouth you have.
Yeah, it has. And then when we had the second one, everybody said, "Don't talk, don't say anything."
Yeah. That's like in the ER. You never say this is a slow night because immediately, all what's going to break loose. So it's it is but you got a lot of exercise that day.
Yeah, we did.
Whoa, I don't even know how many steps are in 13-story building. That's a lot of
I don't
steps.
know either. I don't know
Yeah.
either, actually. It took a while to get down there.
Yeah. But we do find that when we start taking care of our real self, our authentic self, and moving ourselves away from the need to have judgment and punishment. And we find that we can be creative, adventurous, carefree, and express self love. And self love is generated from unconditional love of the universe. And it's a divine love of nature and kindness and empathy. And the universal love creates and expands and inspires because it's energy, it's not material. And when we start finding our awareness, with that awareness, we find change. And with the change, we find transformation. And with transformation, we find self love. And with self love, we find self mastery.
Yeah, we do. That's beautiful. That's fantastic. I have a good question for you, actually. If we think
Oh no.
of I tend to pop them once in a while, right? So
Yes, you do.
if we think that we are living in our traditions, right? Our perception, what we have been taught, right? We think of that as a bubble, right?
Okay.
And outside of that bubble is our authenticity. How do I go about to reach that point?
To me, it's called a sharp object where you can break that bubble, so you can get out into understanding that that little bubble that you are living in was blown by someone else. And when we get to the age of reason, that is when we start, bringing out those sharp implements, and that hairpin and stuff like that. Being courageous enough to realize that doing the same thing over and over and expecting the same results is really kind of crazy. So, if I just change things a little bit at a time, if I just happen to hear or read something that intrigues me, try it on for a few minutes. If it fits, wear it. If it doesn't fit, toss it. But keep that childlike curiosity of exploring and finding things that are going to fit better. When we go to buy a car or go to buy an outfit, we spend more time on choosing that than we do on what we put into our mind and into our heart.
Exactly. Plus, there is no such a thing as failure. The one who does succeed with something come to that place because they tried. It doesn't mean that trying and not being able to make it is a failure, right?
Correct. Correct. That's just another way of doing it that doesn't work. I
Exactly.
mean, I mean, that makes sense, and that didn't work. So toss that. That didn't work. That toss that. It's not, oh, I put so much into this and, I'm never going to do it. No. Well, that didn't work. So I'll try this. I don't like the color red. So I'll put yellow with it. And then now I have a pretty orange. I mean, just be be the human that we came to be.
Be
Love,
and dare. Have
yes,
courage. Be
love,
courageous.
love it, enjoy it, and um, there are no limits. We are full of possibilities that we haven't even conceived of because we have put that bubble around us that says we can't go past that bubble.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, the agreement of always do your best, for instance. Sorry, coming back to the agreements again.
yes,
Um, it's an it does encourage us to embrace our imperfections as well
yes.
and strive for continuous improvement. That is different than punishing yourself and,
E-
hitting yourself.
Exactly. Excuse me. And being these beautiful, imperfect perfections, that just gives us more opportunities to add more. It doesn't limit us and saying, well, we can't do it because we're imperfect. It just says, yeah, but if I do this and if I do this and if I add that, it should open up the possibilities, not
Yes.
limit them.
No, and plus, that is also perception because 100 people will have a different view of what is perfect and imperfect.
Exactly. I mean, I have seen some things that people spend millions of dollars on and call it artistic beauty, and I am going, I think cans of paint just fell all over that thing, but somebody somewhere sees that in a different perception, and that's beautiful. And I'm not going to fault them in it, and I'm not going to think that my perception is better than theirs. It's just different. It's just different.
Exactly. Beautiful. And once again here, I'm going to talk about when you're going to have your wonderful workshops, because you are
Workshop,
going to have two workshops coming up here. For
correct.
anybody it's in-person workshops in Mesa, Arizona. The four agreements is going to be on February 23rd. It's a Sunday. And a play date connected to take your relationship from fine to fantastic is going to be on March 2nd, also Sunday, with Karine Mooney and Liquid Energy Healing.com. You can read more if you go to liquidenergyhealing.com. And I'm going to put up some information about Karine here. Sorry, I should have been doing that already, but multitasking here, right?
And you're doing
So,
your best. Thank you.
yeah, I do. I do my best. So again here, you can find Karine at liquidenergyhealing.com. You can call Karine at 480-250-1815. Or you can email Karine at lqenergy@yahoo.com. Okay? Or
Thank
you
you.
can find a lot of links and stuff also about Karine at angelplaceonearth.com/Karine Mooney. Okay. So I'm excited. I'm so sorry I'm so far away.
I'm coming to you. I'm going to be climbing those beautiful mountains in Greece, and we're going to have a play day.
We're going to have a wonderful play day, and we're going to enjoy the gardens and everything in them, and
I should come.
oranges all year
I should
round.
come about the time that we're going to pick olives and make wine. You know.
Yeah, I think that is the autumn time. That's a good time to come.
All right. Well,
It's not that hot either, so it's a great time.
I have no limits, so
And I may hopefully surprise you too and say, Karine, are you ready? I'm thinking of coming to you.
that's true. Bring your water bottle because it's really hot here.
I have this one,
Good.
a jar, a glass jar, right?
That's right.
So it is exciting. And, we can just mention all of the agreements again, very briefly, right? So the four agreements can be considered a path to personal freedom. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. The third agreement, don't make assumptions. And the fourth agreement, always do your best. And everything that is connected to these things, and they may, like many other things, they sound very, very simple, right? Until you find yourself, I'm going to spend my day here. Challenge yourself to this and say, today, I'm going to pay attention to what I'm saying and how people talk to me. I'm
Mhm.
paying attention. I'm not going to interact with it, but I'm paying attention, becoming aware. Or how we take things personally, right? Because taking things personally is actually also assumptions. They go kind of hand in hand. It's like asking for misunderstandings.
Hmm. It's also like saying, I'm so important, everything revolves around me.
Exactly. So Corinne didn't call me for a few days, right? I assume that's something wrong with me. She doesn't like me any longer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and this is how we start punishing ourselves. And then we
Yeah.
build up this whole story in our head that it's because of this and this and this and this and this. And it's not. I mean,
No.
it's not.
And if we continue this theater, because that's theater, right?
Drama.
So yeah, okay, you didn't call me for a few days, and I kind of worked with that within myself, and I got angry.
Yeah,
And when you finally call me, you can sense ice in my voice, but you don't know what happened, right? So it's
exactly.
kind of a spiral or a chain. One thing leads to another. But if we are open and very understanding and acceptable, accepting things, then we can understand that everything is not centered around me as a person, or Corrine as a person, or someone else, right?
Correct. Correct. And it's so much nicer to be meeting people in an arena of love instead of anger and misperceptions and all of these things that our minds can do. Just simply training our mind to be thinking of the wonderful things and the opportunities and the it like I said, we are limitless with what we can perceive. So why
We
not
are.
perceive the grandeur instead of
Yeah,
the trauma and the drama?
exactly. And I have another funny story. It's actually really funny. I'm not going to mention names or anything, but it happened quite a few years ago, and someone said to me, "This person is angry at you. Sent me a message, text message," and I just said, "Okay." Hmm. So I called them, but I didn't say anything about the person sending the message, right?
Right.
And I could hear a little bit that there was something going on, but I'm straightforward, so I just asked, "Are you angry with me?" "I am." I said, "Why?" "Because you never called me." "Yeah, but I said you don't call me either, and I'm not angry at you." And they said, "Yeah, well, I called the last time." And I said, "I don't even remember when that was." And they said, a year ago.
Yes.
Sorry,
Which
I
is
made you laugh.
ridiculous.
It
It
is.
yeah. And and what energy was wasted in all of these dramas and traumas that they build up and uh it's much easier to, if there's a misunderstanding, to have the courage to say, I really didn't understand why this. Or just pick up the phone and say, I haven't heard from you in a long time and I wanted to say hi.
Exactly.
Be the one that, oh well, you called last, so it's my turn and I'm turn. Forget all of that stuff. Make up your own rules. And
Yeah,
it's you can create so much more beauty.
yeah. So I guess that I kind of it's a funny memory for me because I actually laugh at it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Maybe they were angry, but that's past now anyway. But it's funny. It's a picture of how things can work. And this was not a child; it was a grown person.
And there was no intent to do harm.
No,
It was just a misunderstood perception that they let grow and grow and grow and grow and grow.
yeah,
You know?
a waste of energy, right?
A waste of
Instead
energy.
of instead of doing something funny.
Correct.
So, how do you feel, my beautiful lady?
Well, I think that we have given everyone an opportunity to have some different perceptions and be able to have tools that are going to assist them in unscrewing themselves.
That sounds funny.
You know,
There are tools actually to help. A drilling machine you can add and
that's
um,
true. That,
remove screws, right?
exactly.
So in essence, we don't need to feel stuck in situations, right? And sometimes because life is life, and sometimes energetically we may feel like things are maybe not moving forward in a way that we wanted to see, but it doesn't mean that there are other blessings that we can see in the meantime.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I saw a
And
bunch of blessings, having to sit down, not being able to walk around. So I did.
and when you look at those and realize that they gave you opportunities to learn something different, they no longer become burdens.
No, they become something that you are experiencing, and you can have patience, and you just, yeah, it is what it is at that time. You do what you can with what you currently have, and I always say currently,
Yes. And
because
it's
we can
interesting
always,
because it gives you opportunities to have something to discuss.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, always, right? Things happen. It does. And yeah, we can think a lot of things I could have watched for myself and stuff of that nature. But when things happen, yeah, we just deal with them. We take care of them and we move forward. We do
Yep,
what we can. Right.
that's right.
So, are you feeling for wrapping it up?
I think I am. I think that, and besides, my last bit of notes are no longer there. So that must be that it is coming to the conclusion.
So, again, here, you have been watching Cosmic Sister show with Anne and Corinne. We have been talking about the four agreements, a summary and conclusion. And you can find all past episodes at angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming dash past. The first agreement was streamed on January 8th. Be impeccable with your word. The second agreement was streamed on January 15th. Don't take anything personally. The third agreement on January 29th. Don't make assumptions. Fourth agreement on February 5th. Always do your best. And actually, on January 22nd, we had a wonderful show about take your relationship from fine to fantastic. So, Miss Corrine here, with all her information here where you can find her, you can find Corrine at liquidenergyhealing.com. You can call her at 480-250-1815 or email her at lqenergy@yahoo.com or find her at angelplaceonearth.com/Corrine Mooney. So there are going to be workshops. The Four Agreements workshop is going to be on February 23rd, and take your relationship from fine to fantastic. A couple's play date is on March 2nd. Both are Sundays, and they are going to happen in Mesa, Arizona, in the US. So you are so welcome. Connect with Corrine, get your spot. I know it's going to be worth it, and I promise it's going to be worth it. That's kind of having a big mouth. I know it's going to be. So that is beautiful. And you can catch all our past episodes on the Four Agreements, plus any past episode actually, at angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming dash past. And our next upcoming show on Cosmic Guardians and Cosmic Sis-Stars show is going to be next Wednesday, February 19th with Karina Me, talking about personal responsibility and cosmic creation, how our choices shape the universe. Hmm, that's going to be interesting,
That will
right?
be. Yes.
So, again, connect with us at angelplaceonearth.com/cosmic guardians. You find all of us there, right? And thank you for watching Cosmic Sister Show. And
Thank you.
see you next week.
Yes.
I say love, light, peace, and joy.
Love, light, peace, and laughter.
Bye.
Bye bye.